It's 5 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It's a glorious Thursday morning, notwithstanding how you feel, what you think, or what you're seeing around you. The world is still a beautiful place. I'm Joseph Cadore, you call me JC, and welcome to the program, the 24th day of the month of October. A special good morning to those of you that's on television again, GBN Channel 7, Channel 11, and Channel 20 if you are in cable, or if you're in on radio and Classic 105.5 and 105.9 on the FM band. And certainly those of you that's joining us via Facebook and those other channels, we say thanks and welcome to the program. This morning, as you have come to expect, it is Thursday, and we have representative from the Royal Grenada Police Force. And this morning we'll be taking and putting under the microscope the juvenile justice system, getting an appreciation of what it is, how it functions, and what it serves, its role and functions in ensuring the safety of our children. Lady, sir, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Joseph, and good morning to GBN family.
Good morning to you as well, JC. Good morning to your listeners and viewers as well.
Wonderful. Let's start. The juvenile justice system. What exactly does it, when we hear that term, what does it represent, Noel?
Joe, the juvenile justice system is a system that is, put in place. It's geared basically at looking at our juveniles, especially when we speak about that system. We, as law enforcement, we speak about the system surrounding the disciplining of our youths when an offense is committed, how we treat them, and what we have in place to rehabilitate or reform them. So when we speak here about the juvenile justice system, and we are representatives from the RGPF, we did, in fact, expect to have with us a representative from the Department of Juvenile Justice under the Ministry of Social Development. However, that didn't happen. So we are here, and we will do the best that we can to represent the RGPF in the proudest manner.
Expand on it for me. Yes, we understand this overarching role and responsibility, but certainly let's break it down as to, on a day-to-day basis, what does the system does? The workers, the officers, how do they ensure that they keep the different arms working?
All right. Well, JC, I think it's important for us to reference the Juvenile Justice Act. And according to the Juvenile Justice Act, a child is considered anyone to be under the age of 18. Now, whenever these juveniles, first let's start with what we may notice. So whilst out there patrolling, whilst out there attending to certain matters, at times we may notice that a child may come in conflict with the law. Sometimes we receive calls from persons who may report certain incidents. So at that point, what we would try to do is to try to get an understanding as to, the persons involved, the age, so that we can know how we'll be able to handle such situations. Now, when they do come into this, when they're detained, whenever they come into the station, there are certain procedures and conditions we will have to follow. For example, ensuring that, for one, they are not housed with other adults. In some cases, an adult and child may be in conflict with the law for the same reason. And in cases like that, if they have to be jointly charged, we ensure that the child is separated from the adult. We also try to ensure that children of the same sex are detained separately. So the males for themselves, the female for themselves. Even the conditions, we try to ensure that the conditions whereby they're held, it doesn't pose a threat to them, a hazard to them, to themselves or others as well. So even when they come in, upon entering, there is a juvenile register that we have to input certain information, such as their name, their age, the nature of the offense. So it starts off there.
And I guess it's for that reason, when there is offenses that involve children, the names, in most cases, they're not disclosed.
Correct. Now, the same Juvenile Justice Act, it speaks on publishing or releasing information as relates to the children. And it speaks of a person shall not publish any information which may reveal the identity or even the witness, if the witness is a child under the age of 18, it speaks of guarding that information. You know, we want to be able, not necessarily, it's not just a case of protecting, but we want to ensure that their welfare, their well-being is considered when doing things like that.
I guess the understanding is that even though they might have transgressed the law, minors would be minors, and as such a treatment should be different.
Of course, because in not all cases, JC, the juveniles may decide to commit an act willfully. Yeah, sometimes they're not thinking, there's no forethought behind it.
Right.
Some cases, their peers, they're influenced by their peers, especially when it's groups. Someone from a group may have a falling out with another, and they just influence that everyone be part or partake in uncanny behaviors. Yeah. Even sometimes there is nuances such as poverty. Sometimes a child is poverty stricken, they come from a poverty stricken home. It may force them to do things or to acquire certain things that they notice that their peers or others may have that they don't have in their possession.
Let's look at the current construct that exists, Noel, in Grenada. Because it always, I mean, while there is the overarching ambit of the law, in terms of you carrying out your daily functions, I would assume you would canvass the ground to get an feel and appreciation. There's the issue of poverty and other factors. What are some of those other factors?
So, Joe, I just want to go back a bit. There are many factors that can contribute to a juvenile, becoming delinquent, as we say. So the important thing here is for us to understand that there are special rules in place when dealing with juveniles, and I think the creator, those who wrote the law, and those who came up with the ideas, they carefully sat and planned and came up with those ideas, bearing in mind, as Ms. Toussaint said, that the cognitive capacity of those youths, and they are not yet fully developed, and so we believe. The system believe in chances and in giving several chances and rehabilitating. So there are circumstances, bearing in mind that they are youths. The first thing, the police officer must avoid as much as possible arrests in the cases of a juvenile getting involved in an infraction of the law. So a juvenile commits a housebreaking and stealing, and you would find that upon discovering that it's a juvenile, the police officer, before detaining or upon detaining that young person, would have to inform probation.
Okay.
They would have, yes, these are guidelines that are set in law. So you would have to inform probation that this young person was detained in connection with this crime and so on and so on. You would have to inform their parents as well. Yeah, and if you have to do any sort of interrogation, it must be done in the presence of the parent or guardian, or in their absence, a nominee or maybe a probation officer, some are representative of the same sex. So that shows that you do not try to abuse your authority. So you create that sense of balance and neutrality, and then you avoid arrests as much as possible. So you would have a lot of what we call mitigations and so on. In get at resolving the conflict before it reached to the charge state or to the court, as we say. And coming forward to the question you ask, what are some of the challenges? And if we look today, we look at one of the main issues, I would say, is poor parenting, Joe. Poor parenting, because a lot of the times it's not that you want to parent poorly, but some parents are so occupied or preoccupied doing, going to work in the daily routines. Take, for instance, a police officer. He doesn't have control over the time of the day he has to go to work. And sometimes both parents may be police officers. Right. So sometimes they are not left with a choice but to have someone else, grow their children in their absence. And so it becomes sort of difficult for them to totally manage what is taking place in the home. So in their absence, they might have an elder sibling who's, whose standard may not be as high as yours, or you may have children, being left to supervised by the electronic devices, and so. The construct of the home now is not as it used to be a lot of years ago, where we had extended families like grandparents in home. We find more single parent families now than ever.
And I hope, man, I'm happy that you've mentioned that, because the reason why I asked the question, it comes from the backdrop that we've adopted an old British system, and we cannot in any way dismiss the fact that the current generation is a different breed, gender. They have a different agenda, and the way they behave and react to things when we were growing up is totally different. When we were growing up and we saw a police officer demanded respect. But in our dispensation, that seems to be, they seem more aggressive, and obviously that offers some special challenges for the police officers, I would assume, Toussaint.
Yes, absolutely. Jesse, I think with the introduction of social media, it plays a huge part in terms of the way in which juveniles behave. Because oftentimes we're influenced by the US society or the societies out there in the bigger countries. We see certain things whereby persons may get away with certain things, and we think that we could apply the same thing here in Grenada and by lesser extent the Caribbean. And that's not the case. There are things put in place, legislations, law, that would prevent us from doing certain things here that allows others to get things done in the bigger countries. So I think social media has a part to play with it. Again, peer pressure. One person coming from a household whereby the mother is, as we just say, strict. Yeah, right. The mother has everything in place. The mother has, they usually counsel you. Your mother would inform you as to the things that you should and you shouldn't do. But when you go to school, it's something totally different. Yeah, you have that one person who always on, as they say, badness, and that shouldn't be. But there are some persons who will think that it's okay to disrespect a teacher. It's okay to pass an adult on the street and not say howdy. Yeah, whereby someone is coming from a home whereby they're told that when you passing by Miss Jane, when you passing by the neighbor, ensure you say good morning. Yeah,
you must.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there, I think for us mainly for juveniles. No, as you say, the Gen Zs, social media has a big part to play with it.
It's interesting that you talk about your adults. I was telling somebody the other day, you went through Tantine, and I said, if you went to school in Tantine, you must have known Mr. Miller. If you went to the days of Palmer School, high school GBSS, you knew Mr. Miller. Senior citizen has a little shop, Mr. Miller, and if Mr. Miller is standing there, and Mr. Miller realized you're really dealing and not going up to school, Mr. Miller had a strap that he called the Junior Conqueror, and he would put a few strokes on you. When you went to school, you couldn't complain to the principal that Mr. Miller beat you. Neither could you go home and tell your mother or father, Mr. Miller put 2 strokes on you. And the first thing they would ask you, what did you do? That conversation doesn't happen now, does it?
Not all the time. In fact, Jesse, there has been situations where I personally notice adults instructing or grooming youngsters to do wrong or go against the law. When I say law, I'm speaking here about the police officers, right. Especially when it comes to loitering and when they have disorderly conduct or when they're riotous. I've seen cases whereby persons would somewhat counsel them and tell them, forget the police, or what do he or what do she? Right. It's
Noel, all right. Toussaint has put it mildly. I normally say that parents, they breed monsters. Yeah. And they send them out, hoping now that by magic, using of a magic wand, we're going to fix the issues that we've created at home. And it goes back to where we started the conversation.
And Joe, I was saying, on another program that if we as individuals expect our rights to be respected, then we should in turn respect other person's rights. And if it goes that way, then we shouldn't have much conflict. But instead, what you see happening is that some people tend to reserve their rights and want to violate yours. So they would have their stuff keep it to themselves and still want to take away yours and bully you and so on. And as I said, in my own humble, bringing up or bringing, parenting is a big factor. If your parents tell you at home, listen, respect other people's property, make what you have do, those sort of things. Right. And you go outside there and in fact you did wrong. You would be so afraid if somebody go home and tell your mother that you did something wrong. But if your parents wouldn't talk to you and everything you do, they believe that you're right and they don't want to listen to anybody, then you grow up with the belief that you can do anything and get away with it. I
think in local parlance you say, Zafe.
Yeah, and we are seeing this manifesting itself in our schools. In our schools, look at what is taking place these days. These days, you see children fighting with children in school and calling their siblings, the bigger siblings, and parents sometimes to come to the school to join in the fight.
Well, let me ask you, okay, a lot of things you see it, and you tell yourself, you ask yourself, and I'm going to ask you, both of you, to comment on that. There's nothing new, and folks, listen to me, I know you were quick to castigate me. There's nothing new with fighting in school. And it's interesting. So how do we determine as to what has changed? Because if you ask anybody objectively, the issues that we've seen in any secondary school, the issues among young people, they were always there.
The way, JC, what I would say is the way they go about resolving the conflict now. Now, you would have had a fight before and, fist fight. But when you look and you see what is actually taking place, sometimes if somebody tell you, you mightn't believe, But right. You see in these settings, a young man would pull out a cutlass or somebody would be running in the crowd with a gun or so. It leaves a lot, to be wanting. And I would say that, as Ms. Toussaint said, we have too many adults who supposed to, who supposed to know better, grooming those young persons to get involved in conflict, to get involved in violence. And again, if you go back, there's so much in law that we have to consider. We have to tread cautiously when dealing with those young persons. And so we are asking for the support of the general public in terms of, combating those situations. What we recognize, what becomes normal is what we accept, all right? So if we continue to accept the wrong, then it would be normalized, and we would feel that it's okay to do. And so we're asking, as it used to be, we're asking the community to get involved in crime prevention generally, especially when we see our youths going down the wrong path. Let us get on board and see what we can do to divert, to create positive attention, get them involved in sports. Something I wish to see, JC, is that in almost every community we have a playing field or a basketball court or something. I'm seeing a lot of fields being lit, and so it's something wonderful, but I'm not seeing them occupied or being used to the full extent of what it's capable of being used for.
And I keep saying that the failures that we see and behavior we see being demonstrated by our young people, it's because adults, and some may disagree, it's because adults, and you rightly hinted to it, what we allow, we encourage, we turn a blind eye to, that's what becomes the order of the day. And very often, to say this starts with us, the adults. We've surrendered so many rights to the children.
Great.
No beating in school. Me, I grew up a particular way. I don't want my child X, Y, and Z. I don't want nobody to abuse my child. And yes, while I understand the conversation of abusing our children and all of that, but certainly, do you think we need to stop and revisit, and there be a revision of the laws that governs how we deal with those kids, children?
And I would always say, all right, that's my humble opinion, and is not anything contrary to what our law speaks about. Corporal punishment is there. The law says it's lawful for a parent to correct a child. I mean, that doesn't mean abuse a child. I'm not saying abuse or beat excessively, but to correct his or her child by strokes.
We are a Christian nation, Toussaint. And you see, and that's why I find there is a hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. We surrender everything to the rights of the children. But the very Bible, we say we were a Christian society. Oh, we told the Bible in every event, let us pray. And the very Bible encouraged us that.
Chastise. Mm-hmm.
So who are we fooling?
I think, in my humble opinion, JC, I believe that there's a line when you have to draw when it comes to corporal punishment.
Yes.
We're not asking for parents to abuse their child, leave marks on the child, cause wounds to them. But if from time to time you notice that road is yielding positive results,
right?
Why not? Sometimes that one time it just sinks in, it soaks into that child, and that child responds as they should.
Would you agree, Toussaint, that the challenge is, though, that as parents, we given too much, too early. You hear the expression, he or she is young. So you see the child, he's there, and he keeps hitting. And you, parents, they laugh at it because he's just 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that habit grows throughout that child's lifespan, and then you realize he gets to 10, 15, and what is he doing? All he's doing is amplifying that which he's been practicing for the last 10 years. Toussaint.
Exactly. So it's like spare the rod and spoil the child, and that shouldn't be, because in time to come, as you rightfully stated, they may go down the wrong path, because we glorify it as parents. We would smile, we would laugh. I would say, as you stated, they're young, they don't study that, they don't know. But sometimes when you allow it to happen for so long, at length, it becomes an issue whereby you no longer have control because you already relinquished those rights to that child.
I mean, as we were growing up, if I went home with a pencil, and I had these experiences where my mother sent me back to school, it isn't years. If you start inculcating in children from the early age that it is okay to take a child's pencil, to take a child's rubber, to eat a child's lunch, well, of course, as they grow, they would move from pencil to bigger items.
Of course.
And then makes the life of police officer and adds extra burden to the justice system.
And JC, that's just the case. We have seen, if you look at the trend, if you look at patterns, when you go to the schools and so on, some of most of the children you see are getting in conflict in school. The next 5 years you see them, going to the magistrate court as adults, and so it's a trend, and it's manifesting itself every day. We must say though we don't have any statistics, right. But it's glaring that when you look at the cause list in the court more than 7 years ago, you would recognize that juvenile. On the juvenile court date in particular, because it's also in law that the juvenile cases must be heard in closet, right. So or separately, so you must have a juvenile court, right. and so that day that they choose to have that juvenile court, you would have seen a cause list with maybe about 6 matters down for hearing on that juvenile day. Now you would have in excess of 20-30 matters, and the turnout by the court on that day would be so much that you would be wondering if it's in the Grenada, and we're speaking here not the whole island, but we're speaking about a specific parish. So it leaves a lot to be desired. We have a lot of work to do. What we were speaking about, these days is a lot more about the pre-charge or the diversion unit. So you would have we have conversation before. We have had conversation with the ministry, and it's a dialogue that is taking place to have this pre-diversion unit. So if a juvenile become involved with the law, then you would have, this follow-up sessions you would do with this individual instead of having this individual charge and into the system, because we recognize that a lot of the times the stigma that goes with being incarcerated or even sometimes going into a rehabilitation center like the Juvenile Rehabilitation Center in Bacolod, sometimes there's a stigma attached to it, and what you find is that children who enters, these sort of institutions would always sometimes feel, as an outcast and tend to, repeat themselves in crime. Most of the time, I'm not saying that all of the time, but right. We have a lot of recidivism taking place, and so we it's a dialogue, and it's not yet, a work in progress. I should say it's not yet solidified, but right. It's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
29 minutes on to the hour. When we take a quick break, when we come back, I'll throw it over to Toussaint regarding what you've seen increased violence among our young women, how we address that. And we'd also want to broach the issue of, is it a case of what we see, poor leadership from our adults, and all it's been doing is been mimicked by our children? Is that the case, or are they controlled by some external forces which we don't have control over? To the point, Thursday. Take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Tourism is me. Tourism is you. Tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
A bottle for every occasion. Clark's Court offers a range of white, dark, flavored, and specialty rums. Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum. Proud partner of the 18th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Saturday, October 26th, Grenada Trade Center, 7:30 p.m.
Grenada, get ready to celebrate the magic of the season with Christmas with GBN. Starting November 4th, join us weekdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN Television, K105 and Hot 98. Monday kicks off with traditional stories and wellness, featuring a storytelling session with Labukan Creative Center, giveaways, nutrition tips, and live calls to share your holiday wishes. On Tuesday, brings Craft Day with live and pre-recorded workshops guided by local artisans. Join us for more giveaways and connect through live calls. Wednesday features an outdoor production showcase, giving local sponsors a chance to shine from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. On Thursday, it highlights a local cuisine showcase at True Blueberry Resort. And on Friday, it wraps up the week with live entertainment in our studio, showcasing local artists and more opportunities for live calls. Don't miss out on the joy and togetherness this holiday season. Celebrate with us on Christmas with GBN. Welcome back to the program. 25 minutes onto the hour into the morning time. My guest with me this morning is Officer Shawntel Toussaint and Corporal Sherwin Noel. Looking at the juvenile justice system, it's quite expansive, but basically putting it under the microscope, dealing with our young people. In the morning construct, years ago, violence, some of the issues on the streets were limited to males. We've seen a shift. Females, they're becoming more and more involved in crime. They're becoming more and more violent. They are increasingly involved in the consumption of more alcohol. And alcohol by itself has an overarching part to play in some of the challenges that we see. But let's focus a bit just on the young women and that trend that we are seeing.
Well, JC, we are noticing, in fact, we've been receiving a lot of cases whereby a lot of young ladies are running away, which we consider missing teens. For some, most times it could be for their own innate relief, they're having issues within a particular community, at a particular home, so they may decide to seek help elsewhere. From time to time, there may be cases whereby these young ladies may be brought to the Smiles, and that's the Juvenile Rehabilitation Center located at Gulf Coast, and there they would receive counseling. There would also be mediations. We at RGPF, we also go to the various homes and rehabilitation centers to do presentations to inform them of the consequences of certain actions and the behavioral patterns that we're noticing that could lead them down the wrong path throughout the road. We also try to engage with them at schools because some persons, they may be in the rehabilitation center, but they're also still taking part of formal education. So from time to time, we'll try to visit them at schools, not just them directly, but schools altogether, in an effort to at least sensitize or raise awareness to youths. And that's both females and males.
The issue of role models, both male and female, it becomes part of the question. As somebody is saying here on social media, we need to have classes for adults and parents, which is true, because there are individuals who may have a child or children, and believe me, the ability to parent comes into question every day. This one is also saying we need adult leadership. I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to play a clip that has been making the rounds on social media, and I know there may be varied reaction to it, but certainly one can't but help but trying to determine the impact that it has on our young people. Master Control, when you're ready, let's go. Okay, Master Control says to seem to be ready for me. I thought we said you had the thing lined up for me. 435-2041, that's the number on the inside. I'm going to go to the telephone line in just a bit.
So, Joe, you mentioned about role models, and if we look carefully, we would recognize that in our schools especially. And I want to say not only in our schools, but in our homes, the absence of the male figure. And I think that is one of the driving, force behind the delinquency that we see, mostly from our males, our young males. In most of our schools, some of the primary especially, we are seeing like only one male teacher in over, sometimes over 8 classes or 9 classes. You're seeing 1 or 2 male teachers. Sometimes you have schools where you don't have a male figure at all. I cannot blame that.
Not just the schools, the home. In the homes as well.
Yeah. But I cannot say that our males are not intelligent or educated enough. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, they are not propelled to go beyond, and sometimes to see their full potential. And so, children learn more so by what they see happening, and sometimes the violence that they see could as well come from home. We have a lot of domestic violence taking place in our homes, and so a lot is not being reported. But a lot of times, going to the schools, interacting with the youths, you would hear they speak about, something that they observe home, or, my daddy does fight, and or mommy is used the obscene, and so on. So we have to be careful as parents, what we do, and when we do, who is present and so on. So be a good example, be a good role model to the youth, because they tend to absorb almost any and everything that they see.
Yes, they are sponges.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this, though, Toussaint. That concern that Noel just raised about the seeming or that glaring absence. Yes, Master Control, I see you, so I'll come to you right. That absence of the male figure at home, in the workplace, is that a function of the feminist movement?
I won't say so, because as much as there are radical feminists, there are liberal feminists who understands the role that fathers play, not only in the males' lives, but the females. I know that there's a saying that the females always cling to the males, but the males also pattern themselves based on the fathers, yeah? So I won't say so, but it is important for fathers to be present, to speak with their girl children, to speak with your boy children. Take them out to social outings, be part of their lives, be present, because these are memories and these are things that you would always remember. For me, I remember that my father would always say, there's a saying he always say, no father wants to see their girl child go down the wrong way, or something to that effect. And just the same by having my father tell me that, that's always at the forefront of my mind whenever I'm doing certain things, to ensure that I don't bring disgrace to him or to myself as well. It sets a pattern.
It sets a pattern. Master Control, I got a feeling that you are ready for me with my video.
Have you ever seen a government with so much arrogance? They have no respect for people. It's as if all of us are their little children. When they're talking as if you do this, you do that. Don't play music, don't go here, don't do this. Who the hell they talking to? Who they talking to? Who are they talking to?
Now, I know in Grenada sometimes we have a challenge in being able to separate issues, and I don't think we as a society we've accepted the reality that our leaders need to understand that we hold them to high esteem, and you may make comments, say things, and while it may not be the intention, when as a leader I say you make these open utterances, it begs the question, what do you expect from our young people when you use that sort of tone, that sort of rhetoric? I'm not going to ask one of you to comment to that. I see all faces, you all start going, me, I ain't going there. I'm leaving that by itself. But I'm playing it because it brings into question the whole question of leadership. Leadership. Not just from a political arena, but from at work, at home, at school. That question actually comes in. It comes into play. So we're going to open up the telephone lines for 45-2041. That's the number on the inside. Good morning, caller. You are live. You're live, caller.
Yes. Good morning to you.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning to your guests. Here you go, GT. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on the young people, and sometimes I'm tired talking about leadership roles and responsibility, accountability. Now, if we want the youth to display better behavior, it has to come from an angle of leadership. Yeah? Leadership at all levels. Leadership from the home, leadership in the church, leadership in the political arena. But if the leaders who's supposed to guide the nation are setting bad examples, how do you want the youth to follow? Now, we're not at a crossroad redefined. This country is in a lot of trouble. How do you pull back? I'm saying the police is doing a fine job. Based on the tension in the society, the police is doing a very good job. I ask them to continue doing this. But we have to focus on the people who have to guide the nation and the nation's youth. We have to maybe do a whole program to these people and tell them, look, you are damaged, you have really damaged the society. But you will have to pull back and show them the angle that they have to pull back in order for us to get the youth to focus on the things they're supposed to do. How do you train the youth? How do a father and mother talk to their children when the behavior of the people at the upper level are displaying the attitude of the children? You see? And so we have to be very careful. Talk to these people, or leaders, or people who have to guide the society. Other than that, let me tell you something. This country is far, far, far gone, and I don't know how we're going to pull back youth, because who will teach the youth? Who will teach them? Who will pull them back from where they are? Okay. Yeah, and that's my concern. I've been talking for too long the same thing over and over. Leadership, roles and responsibility, accountability to the society. The society is astray. And our leaders are not taking that into consideration and continue to behave the same way.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Have a good day, sir.
We seem to be battled on many fronts. But you would agree, somebody 18 is saying we need to do damage control. Gentlemen, sir, what, in your estimation, and I know that the police has been, will continue to be proactive in addressing some of those situations.
That's right.
You talked initially about going to the schools and so on. What are some of the programs and organizations that you've been involved with that would seek to arrest the current situation?
Well, GT, we must say that the police is one, arm of the law that doesn't work in isolation. We work along with a number of other institutions, especially when it comes to our juveniles. So we do a lot of referral in relation to, it might be an issue where we think that child protection needs to get involved. And sometimes we refer, as we say, we always refer to probation first, child protection authority, social services. Sometimes you recognize that a child is not attending school and his deviant conduct or behavior might be as a result of lack of funds or something, and poverty or so. So we refer to social services, and we refer to the Ministry of Education with the uniform program and the truancy officers. So sometimes GT, something I recognize in going out with the school attendance officers in recent months is that we have some children who have been staying away from school. And when you do the inquiry, you recognize that they are saying that the parents doesn't have enough funds to send them to school on a daily basis. But we're here to bring our awareness, and so we are telling you that you doesn't have to have liquid cash to send your child to school. Sometimes you live in a community, the school is just about, let's say, 10 minutes walk away, and we have the free meals in school, so you can bring it to the attention of the Ministry of Education. Your child can get free meals in school. They can assist you with uniform and so on, and books and so it's not a challenge. And when you go to school and you get educated, or when you go to school, if you stay at home, if you don't go to school, you would be left hungry, because if your parents don't have money to send you to school, definitely you would stay at home and you wouldn't have anything to eat. So you go to school, you get something to eat, you get an education, so you can bring yourself out of this poverty. So it's a lot of referrals and looking out for the welfare and well-being of our youths, and seeing how we can get parents to come on board, because we know education is a key factor when you're talking about getting children to rehabilitate. And so if you're from a home where the parents they are stubborn and delinquent themselves, then it would be rather difficult to get the child to attend rehabilitation and do that successfully. So we urging parents to get involved and seek advice. Speak to somebody, speak to the police officers in the community. Go to the police station, ask a question.
Let me add, as we add, I guess time is quickly running out on us. But let me ask you, Toussaint, the whole conversation, and we keep hinting to it, and more as we try to find a common ground, we keep going back to home. And the issue that of respect, and Noel hinted to it in passing, but I wanted to show you as a police officer, as a female as well, to address the issue of respect, and respect in a context, not just from the context of what's happening with those on the outside, but at home. The way sometimes parents, they would speak to their children. If you don't show a child respect, 9 out of 10, And the Bible says it. A soft answer turneth away wrath. A grievous words stirs up anger. And very often as parents, if we start off yelling, cursing our children at home, Toussaint, take the conversation from there.
All right. So, in my opinion, JC, I think that when parents, especially for the mothers, when they have a lot on their hands, when they're expected to provide financially, social support, emotional support, sometimes it can't. It can be a burden, so to speak, And I think sometimes they may want to lash out on the children, especially if the father is not present. But respect is due. I believe that children have the right to speak. They have a right to share their views and opinions. And I know that at home, it may be viewed as if you're giving back talk, but we're in a new age. And I think that the idea of social integration is something big. So I think parents, not just mothers, but mothers and fathers should be able to at least allow the child to be able to speak up and say things that are affecting them, and be mindful of the tone that you're using. Because if you're suggesting that you're trying to discipline, but your mannerism, your body language, your tone of voice is one that's hasty, children will tend to have this sort of apprehension when it comes to going to you, and instead they would divert to other devious behaviors. Even within the homes, I know that for some persons, they may state that they don't want for anyone else to discipline their child. But in past times, it was something for the community to get involved. And I am encouraging persons for us to get back and take a hold of that type of discipline, whereby the community members can come in, and if they see your child doing something wrong, they'll be able to say, all right, Jane or whoever it may be, I saw your child doing such and such. I just want to inform you that, okay, I would have informed them about it, and he continued. Right. We want for everyone to get involved when it comes to the home. Not just the home, but the community by extension.
And JC, I was just about to say that Toussaint hinted to something, tone and expression, but I thought she was going to say, when you're addressing your parents, your tone, even if you think you have the right to speak, but you must address them in a respectable manner.
Yes, I agree.
And so it goes both ways. So I don't want you to think that, yes, you have the right to speak, but I can talk to mommy anyhow, and who is you, and I have rights too, No. You have to calm yourself. You have to address your parents politely, and I believe you would get a positive response.
But that response, let's take this telephone call. Where are we at it? Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Hello?
Yes, caller, you're alive.
I don't even know. There is many ways to hang a dog without putting a rope in the neck. Now, some people have a tendency to believe, I don't know if it's to say more or less, people believe there is one way of hanging a dog. But I know that there are many ways to sort of reshape people's thinking, possible to remodel them. Now, sometimes I hear people saying that man is this and that man is that. But it's the way you treat the person, that's why they respond in this negative way. So if you have a child growing up in your house, it's not only flogging that would help him to be better, or cursing, maybe perhaps if you ignore him or her, that might be a good treatment. Now, a lot of us believe is war to win a fight, but it's strategy to win the fight. You have, when I say fight, a fight could be not physical, but it could be verbal too. Now, and this is what I realized even by listening to programs on the air, and whether GBN or other stations. People have a tendency to brutalize people on the air according to what they say. What they should do is to use tactical means in getting to pay the treatment. If your mother show you love, you'll show them love. If she flogs you all the time, then you would wage war against her, or even the husband, or the keeper, or whoever you want to call him, or whatever you want to call the person.
Okay.
So you have to set the example, or we have to set the example. Now, in nation fighting against nation, is because God would soon take control of these irregularities. God is just giving us a chance. But when He's ready, He will put us to shame. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 5 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock. We to the point for today, the 23rd. In case for some of you just chiming in, officers Toussaint and Noel with us, and we're looking at the juvenile justice system, dealing with our young people. And one of the points that you just made there, Sherwin, and both you made, and you expanded on it. You expanded on it, is that respect must be given if you want to get respect. And I think because we agreed that the focus of the challenge has to be in understanding what's happening at the home. I believe if a child comes into a home where he's loved, he's appreciated, and he feels there's value and worth, he would hold on to those values. Not that there are some children, they just would, for some reason, the dark forces of life would just get them, God forbid. But let's take this, which will be probably a final telephone call. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yeah, good morning, JC. Quickly, I just want to hear your guests address the issue as to the kind of music that is being played on the radio today when we're talking about the guidance of the youth and what they listen to.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, JC,
we didn't get around to that one, but I would say for weak minds, weak minds would be penetrated or influenced to do, wrong things by the music they hear. But I could remember nowadays we had Tupac and Biggie Small and those sort of music as well. We had, the Jamaican culture as well. And individuals would choose to do what they want to do based on the strength of their mind and the influence they get from others. So music, yes, in fact, can be an influence, and parents, again, must be guided accordingly so you know the type of music you listen to. But talk to your children. A conversation is what would change the whole thing, a conversation from an early stage, as JC was saying. Don't wait until, you see a pattern and it gets out of control before you address it. And it goes as well with the police officers. If you see something happening in your community that needs to be addressed, then you address it early so it doesn't become a big problem for the police to address, because what you would hear from the community is that we are accustomed to doing that and nobody ever told us about it before. Who is you to come and tell us that we're doing wrong? Right. So you have to address it early. And but as you hinted to the music, yes, music can be a strong influence as to what people do. But again, I would say that weak minds would be influenced by what the music say. Else, if you're intelligent and you're smart, then you would know what to do, what is right from what is wrong, and you can listen to almost anything, but not be influenced by that. Toussaint, your thoughts on the music?
Well, yeah, I share the same sentiments as Sergeant Noel. I do believe that the type of music you listen to, it does not actually have to cause you to actually behave in an inappropriate manner. You shouldn't have to deviate from the norms of society whereby you're actually upholding the law. As he said it best, weak minds will be able to easily be penetrated, because I for myself would hear some music. I wouldn't listen to it, but I would hear some music on the road that instructing the young men to do all kind of craziness. Right. But I know for a fact if it's me, I wouldn't succumb to that.
Well, folks, we leave that conversation there. WPC, Shawntel, Toussaint, and Corporal. I'm showing Noel. Folks, just to wrap up what we were dealing with the issue of music, and Noel, you said it right. Music is a powerful tool. And if, again, we go back to the scriptures, when, of course, the angels, what did they do in heaven? They play music. They sing. That's what they do. When Saul was angry, what did in the Bible? He brought in David to play the harp to calm him. So the good Lord in his divine wisdom, he understands the impact of music. And I want to say to parents, it's important that you take control of what your children that they're exposed to. What they're exposed to. The sort of music that they listen. But it comes down more so to the values you inculcate in them from a very early age. You don't wait until your boy or your girl gets to 13 and 14 to start to have certain conversations with them. Those conversations start from a very, 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 very early age. Children respond to stimuli from the early days in the womb. So maybe what we need to start doing, developing that culture where we understand that, listen, there are varied forces out there. You need to determine what sort of force, what sort of spirit, what sort of environment you want for your child or children. Yes, you cannot make their minds, but you can create in them values, because we all agree, weak minds will be much more susceptible to the negative culture of life. Give them a purpose, give them something that they should challenge themselves to, that allows them to want to become a better person, a better individual. Is what I say to you every day. Find your purpose in life. And when you find that divine purpose, and not forgetting that ever so often as parents, you need to whisper a word of prayer for your children, for your life, our lives, and the lives of our nation. And more so as we move into tomorrow, which is the 25th, a day of Thanksgiving. Let's be grateful. Let's be grateful. Let our children realize that as parents, we too, while we are faced with challenges on many sides, we do appreciate and understand the role that you and I play. We play as parents in guiding our children and allowing them to become better citizens of this nation. Until then, so long, everybody. This is as far as I can take you for the week on. I can take you on the week. Tomorrow's a holiday. I won't be here. But I'll be back with you, the good Lord's willing, on Saturday from 10 until 2. Until then, so long, everybody. I encourage you to live life and love life. Find your divine purpose. And you know what? Stick to it. And ask God for what it takes to become a better human being. Until then, so long, everybody. God bless.